The Spoken Word Library presents I Trained in Moscow for Black Revolution, a lecture by Leonard Patterson. Mr. Patterson joined the Communist Party in Philadelphia in 1928. He rose rapidly through the ranks, went to Moscow for advanced training along with such well-known party officials as Steve Nelson, Benjamin Gitlow, and Claude Lightfoot. In fact, while in Russia, he was the roommate of Gus Hall, later to become head of the Communist Party, USA. Leonard Patterson was no small-time operator within the movement. He was a member of the National Committee and National Bureau of the Young Communist League, a member of the Central Committee of the Negro Commission, and chairman of the International Negro Commission of the Communist Internationale. He organized and led picket lines, strikes, goon squads, and riots, all in accordance with orders from party headquarters. He was an active and effective communist propagandist, not only in the United States, but also in Russia and Germany as well. Mr. Patterson left the Communist Party when he finally realized it wasn't honestly interested in helping Negroes, that it was just using him and his people as cannon fodder to create hatred and violence, and that the goal of the communist movement was the enslavement of all peoples, regardless of race. This is a true life adventure, more dramatic and startling than any story of fiction. But more than that, it's an important story, for it offers us a rare glimpse inside the communist hierarchy. It gives us a chance to learn how communist strategy works behind the guise of civil rights, and it shows us how to resist the propaganda lures that speak of love but lead to hate. This story is truly fascinating, but the drama fades into nothingness by comparison to the lessons it teaches. And so the Spoken Word Library now presents a man who speaks not from what he learned in a book, but from first-hand experience, Mr. Leonard Patterson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for giving me this opportunity to speak to you tonight. I will speak the truth. I will speak the truth. I don't care who it hurt. I will speak in my native state language, North Carolina. I'll step on toes. I will present facts. I will show that the riots and demonstrations in the United States today in the name of civil rights are just a continuation of rights that was led by the communists in Europe and Asia back in 1928, 29, 30, and 34 in the United States, right up to the present day, right in Los Angeles and Watts. I will prove it. And I don't care who don't like it, I'm going to tell the truth. And I might say I'm handicapped in speaking. I had a stroke in May. This whole left side was paralyzed and it affected my voice. I was in the hospital 22 days. I couldn't even move a finger. So I don't think I've done so bad since May. So you'll have to bear with me. If I don't get every word out just like it should, now you know why. But I'm here to tell the truth. Ladies and gentlemen, how did I get mixed up with the communist movement? I was around 22 years old. I was out of a job. I went to look for a job. So I found a job in a communist barbershop, 26-28 Union Square, New York City, 1928. When I got in this job, they began immediately to indoctrinate me with communism. I didn't know about no communism then. But they was telling me that they believe every man is equal. They believe in equal rights for the Negroes, for the farmers, the women. That they didn't believe in bosses. They believe in everybody being a king. And that they should take the land away from the rich and give it to the poor. And not to hang up people's coat when they come in. And not to brush them off. That was a capitalist way of doing things. You ain't no servant, you're just working. So I thought something was wrong. It didn't look right to me. They didn't believe in tips. I know then they were wrong. So day in and day out, they began to indoctrinate me with communism. 5 barbers against 1 boot black. And I began to hold my own. So one day they said to me, you just stubborn. So you know what's wrong with you? You just see the old way. If you go up to the Communist Workers' School on the next floor, I'll bet you $10 when you finish the course you'll be a communist. You'll join the Young Communist League or the Communist Party or one of its organizations. And we'll pay the tuition fee. I said, that's a bet. So ladies and gentlemen, I went up there and taken a course. Before I finished that school, I had done joined the Young Communist League. They were right. That indoctrination was so great. I was overpowered. I was convinced, and I joined. About a month or so after I got in, a group of white communists and colored communists went into a restaurant on Union Square after a communist meeting at night. Now, because the waiter did not stop waiting on the people he was waiting on and come to them, they cried out he was discriminating against them because it was Negroes in that group. What they were doing was creating an incident. Wanted to create a scene to spread communist propaganda. So what happened? The next day, they threw a picket line around that man's restaurant and came and got me off the job. Some member of the Young Communist League, now I'm under discipline, I got to do it. So I goes on join the picket line. And we get out there and sang songs and provoked a fight with the police and got arrested. Immediately we branded the police. It's full of police brutality, called them Cossacks, etc. Now that was 1928. Those same tactics and methods of the Communist Party is going on today. Well, it didn't stop there. 1929, January, Communist Party had, through its Needle Trade Workers Industrial Union, they'd call a strike, a dressmaker strike in New York. Leonard Patterson was assigned that dressmaker strike. I couldn't thread a needle, didn't know a bobbin, didn't know a hem, didn't know nothing. But I was assigned a dressmaker strike. But I was assigned to the goon squad. They called it the Action Committee. We was to go up and pull shops out that hadn't came on strike. If you voted you didn't want to strike, we were to bring you out anyway. Our job was to go up on the elevator. Now, if the elevator operator was friendly, it was all right. If he wasn't, it was our job to capture the elevator. Now, whatever happened to him, that was his business. After we got upstairs, we'd post 2 guards by the door to see to it no one didn't recapture the elevator from us. The rest of us had clubs and lead pipes wrapped up in newspapers, and we go to the strike and tell them to strike on, get up, let's go. And now you know they came on down. And then we'd get down, the traffic would be obstructed, streets would be jammed, songs would be sung, tow wagons backed up, strikers by the hundreds carried down, communists provoked fights with the police, rioted, right away with police brutality. I just wanted to show you the methods and strategies and tactics of the Communist Party used in Watts and Harlem, Rochester, and other places are the same ones back in those days. They begin to reward me now for my activity. I'm getting to be a good communist now. So in 5th District Convention of the Young Communist League, 1929 in New York, they looked at me as a delegate. At that convention, they elected me on the District Executive Committee. Then they elected me as a delegate to the National Committee of the Young Communist League, to be held sometime about 2 months after. But from the Minnesota District, from the Young Communist League National Convention, came another delegate. And who do you think that was? the chief spokesman of the Communist Party of the United States today, Gus Hall. After that convention, had a national training school to promote me on up a little higher now, get me to be a better revolutionist. National Training School at Young Communist League in Cleveland, Ohio. I went from the New York district. Who do you think came from the Minnesota district? Gus Hall. Follow me right on down. 1930, got promoted again. Now I'm a member of the Communist Party and the Young Communist League. National Committee, Young Communist League, looked at me as a delegate to the 7th National Convention of the Communist Party held in New York. At this convention, I had a voice and vote. I participated in discussion. The Communist Party at this convention proposed a resolution titled "The Communist Position on the Negro Question in the United States." That resolution called for the setting up of a separate Negro Republic in the United States. I took the floor at this convention, spoke against that resolution, and voted against it. I had that much sense then, you know I got that much sense now. All of the Negro delegates to the Communist 7th National Convention, except 2, voted against that resolution. At the 6th World Congress of the Communist International, held in Moscow, Russia, 1927, all of the Negro delegates of the United States, except 2, voted against that resolution. But the Communist International and the Communist Party said it had to be. It was a law, and as disciplined communists, we had to accept it. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I got promoted again. I ain't through being promoted yet. I got promoted again. I'm now a district organizer of the Young Communist League. I'm now graduated as a member of the district committee and district bureau of the Communist Party in the Philadelphia district. I got another assignment, ladies and gentlemen. Whenever I got them kind of assignments, there's going to be a riot made. This time I'm to go to Baltimore, Maryland, and we're to organize a hunger march to Annapolis, Maryland, to the Capitol. We was instructed by the party, when we get there, Governor Richard come down, he offered to shake hands with us, for us not to shake hands with no capitalist governor, to turn our back on and walk away from it. Refused to shake hands with us. Sure enough, we did. And the governor came down and said, "I'm glad to have you," and every one of us turned our back, refused to shake hands with the governor. And but at the same time, we demanded from the governor that he suspend the sessions that was going on in the House and the House delegate in the Senate, and give us a joint hearing to hear our demands for the unemployed. Governor said, "I can't do that." He said, "They have their own rules down there. Well, speak it out. Go down and see him." Well, that's where the communists work today, putting up unrealistic demands so that you can't negotiate them. That's their tactic today. But we went downstairs, and they agreed to give us the hearing, and I was chosen as the spokesman. While we was making arrangements to work out the details for the hearing, the Communist Party organizer stirred up an incident. He provoked a fight in the state legislature. Heads were split, fists were thrown, chairs were thrown. I'm not kidding you, lady. The communists started a riot. Now, if they start there, you know they're going to start one in Watts. You know that. They're going to start one in Harlem if they start one in the state legislature. Well, that's what they did. There was arrests made. And then the communists said to the state legislature, to the government, "We come down here to petition for unemployment relief, and you split the poor Negroes' heads as a Harlem to come for something to eat, heads with clubs." See how you see the method now they're using? So the senators and the House of Delegates, they're taking up money, a whole lot of money. I saw some 20s too. $20 bills. They're going to feed the unemployed, going to give us something to eat. We hadn't eaten enough neither. But the party secretary said, no, we don't want no capitalist help. We want to come down and expose them. We did what we done. We got our propaganda over. That's what we want to do. So I just want to show you that that's just a continuation of what happened in Watts and what happened in Harlem and what's happening in the civil rights movement today. The communists will create any instance to promote its program. So wherever you see these riots, you look, the communists is in behind it. The communists is behind it. I declare before the entire world that the civil rights movement today is definitely under the leadership of the Communist Party, influence and supervision. After the Hunger March in Annapolis, back to a district committee meeting of the Communist Party of Philadelphia, a communication came from the Central Committee of the Communist Party instructing the district committee to select students at the International Lenin School in Russia. Now we're going to Moscow. I was the first one chosen. And students came from all over the United States. We had 22 in my group. Some more came later. By the way, who do you think came from Minnesota to the National Lenin School? Gus Hall, followed me all the way to Moscow. And who do you think my roommate was? Gus Hall. This Lenin School in Russia consisted of 66 countries, students from 66 countries. We got to Moscow. The very first thing we had to do was forget about you with Leonard Patterson or Bill Lawrence or Steve Nelson. For communist security reasons, you had to change your name. So I'm going to give you the name of some of our students. We had a student from your territory, Los Angeles. Pete Garcia, I think he came from Pizzo. They asked him what was his new name. He's a Mexican. Abraham Lincoln. We had a Negro from Detroit, Ed Williams. He said, well, bro Lincoln, if you Abraham Lincoln, I'm George Washington. We had a Jewish comrade from New York City, Abe Harfield. If you Abraham Lincoln and George Washington, I'm J.P. Morgan. Gus Hall was Malone. Leonard Patterson was Cotton Terry. I took my name after a baseball player. Now we got to travel all over the Soviet Union and spread what they call international propaganda. You had to tell how wonderful the Soviet Union is. But the United States, you got 15 million unemployed. They're burning up wheat to keep up the prices. The farmers can't have bread. People are dying from malnutrition. And ladies and gentlemen, while I was spreading those lies, I know I was lying, but I made that thing so good that sometimes these old Russian women would be crying with tears now for the poor, hungry American people. A Russian worker couldn't eat eggs. There were no eggs for me. Couldn't have no eggs. No butter, no eggs, no milk. He had nothing but what we call hashed brown potatoes and black bread and no butter. The houses out there on the farm, what do you think they had for a roof? At least in North Carolina, where I came from, they had 10. Then they woke up to shingles. I'm talking back in those days. But they had straw. The shoes were sandals wrapped with toe bagging around the leg. Those are the ones we were telling were much better off than we were. Well, then let me get on back to the Lenin School again, subjects that we've taken up. And the national trade union question. History of the Communist Party of the United States, history of the Communist Party of the Soviet Union, history of the German Communist Party, the Canton Revolution in China, the general strike in Germany that failed after World War I, the French Revolution, all these subjects we've taken up. Then military strategy and tactics, how to read maps, how to do field problems, how to field strip machine guns, pistols, weapons, identification of weapons of foreign countries, identification of airplanes, how to capture a building, how to blow up a bridge, how to capture the communication system. The communists taught the people how to make Molotov cocktails. Let me give you one example of what I was taught in school. We had a problem, and the Russian instructor said, now, says, you have captured that village, but there's one man, there's a kulak. A kulak would be a farmer that owned about 40 acres. And he got influence over those people. And the order was liquidate the kulak and liquidate all private property. What would you do? He asked me if you was a commander. I said, I'd liquidate him. He said, if I was a commander, I'd shoot you. You don't liquidate him until you get his influence from other people. You go along with him and use him until you take the influence away from the people. Then you shoot him. They'll make concessions, but not on a principle. Back in 1930, the Communist International in Moscow drew up a resolution where it states that the Communist Party must utilize every grievance of the Negro people, stir them up, inflame them, get them to a high pitch, create what they call a mass movement of indignation, and that the Communist Party must give leadership to such a movement. And the Negro communists must be in the forefront, and they must be specially trained for that. And that movement can develop as a prelude or a stepping stone to what they call a Proletarian Revolution. That a successful communist revolution in the United States could never be successful unless they would gain the influence, support of the millions of Negroes, the majority of the Negro population in the United States. And therefore, in order to gain those people for the cause of the communist revolution, of communism, the Communist Party would have to champion their causes, have to create incidents, have to take advantage of any agreements, and inflame the entire movement that you've seen it going on today. Mainly go into the Negro churches. That's the largest Negro organization in the United States. Go in there and get influential people, train them, school them, make them leaders, build a mass figure like Martin Luther King, and we'll build a movement around them. That was laid down in 1930. That's been going on. It's been going on. It's going on today. Now, the overwhelming majority of Negroes have not accepted the Communist Party policy, but there's so many have. How did the Communist Party begin to gain that influence? First of all, you and I was asleep and let them gain it. We weren't doing work among the people ourselves. They have problems, plenty of problems. Housing problems, problems with jobs, problems with everything. But we left it to the Communist Party. They don't want them to have good jobs so they can stir them up. They don't want the people in the white section peaceful. They want them to lay around and not work, steal, rob, fight, quarrel. They can either go in there and stir them up, have race riots, loot stores. You see, the communists use these people. A lot of them don't know what they're doing. A lot of them don't know it's a communist movement. They're not guilty of it. They're guilty of it, but they're not conscious of it, I should say. The majority of Negroes are anti-communists. Majority of them. But the movement gets out of hand. When an incident arises, the communist plays it up. That's because we haven't exposed the communists. When we get so we can expose them, then we can stop all that. Why did I break with the Communist Party? There was a West Coast second strike here in Frisco. On the basis of that strike, due to my leadership and our agitation, we was able to pull the Philadelphia longshoremen out in sympathy. That had nothing to do with your strike here, but just pull them out in sympathy because the Communist Party said so. And we put forth our local demands, what we wanted. And the ship owners granted them to us. We want another man in the gang, we got that. Whatever we wanted, they granted to us, so we have no right to strike. So I go back to the Communist Party and tell them. They said, no, you can't stay out the West Coast longshoremen in the back. You got to keep them out at all costs. You're interested on them get a nickel dime on wages, another man in the gang. We're interested in big things. We're interested in revolution. That woke me up right then. I said, well, after all these years, now I am finally convinced that the Communist Party is not sincere in its effort to improve the conditions of the American people. And I began to waver, began to look and study more and see more. So I finally broke with the Communist Party. Since that time, I've been on the go. Wherever anyone wants me to help fight against communism, I've always been there. Brother, if you see what had to be done under communism like I have, you would give your life to rectify it too. Now, in this situation, is it hopeless? No. No. Why let innocent people be utilized by the communists? We don't want the communists to continue to put Negro against white and white against Negro. We need to work together. Bullets from the Russian missiles and the airplanes and the bombs will not look for color when it comes. They look to destroy our country and put you and me under slavery. And you and I both today have got to learn who our common enemies are, and we have to learn today to fight as one. And we can do it. But we have to fight communism wherever communism shows its nasty head. Anywhere where communism raises its head, we'll have to be there to put our foot and stomp it back down. We cannot compromise. Compromised in China. Today, 600 million people are enslaved by communism because we compromised with communism. You know the story. Eastern Europe, the same way. Now let me tell you just one more thing. 1917, during the Communist Bolshevik Revolution, when the Communist Party took power, there were less than 12,000 Communist Party members in a country of 200 million people. Did you understand what I said? 600 million people in China and about half or 1% Communist Party members, and they took power. So the question of communism must be taken serious. Communist Party have members in all key spots, in the State Department, in different places. You can't put your hand on them, but they're there. They got the communists in the trade unions, they got them in the churches, they got them in the Masonics, they got them in the Elks. They have them everywhere. So they press the button and they dance to the music. While we are at one another's throats, fighting one another, dividing our ranks there together. And we got to learn to get together also. Because if we don't, one day, we may find ourselves just like China, just like Czechoslovakia, just like Poland, just like Latvia, just like Lithuania, just like East Germany, just like the rest of them. And you see, you got these little nice homes out here, automobiles. When the Communist Party take over, you come and take over your home and say, well, you got a wife and one child, we'll give you one room, the rest of it go to the Communist Party official. That car you got will go into the motor pool for the party. You won't have no more car. There ain't no trial about it. They just confiscate all your property, all your belongings, take your money out your bank account. You just get what they want to give you. So I lived in Russia, went to school there. I lived in the United States and went to school here. I met communists from practically all the countries in the world. But let me tell you something. Don't care how many grievances or disadvantages we may have in the United States, we are blessed to be in this country. We are blessed to be in our country. You take, for example, the American Negro. Don't care how many disadvantages he got in this country. His education and cultural advancement is even above a lot of those small European countries in Central and Eastern Europe. His total wealth among him is more than many European countries. As I'm trying to say, although he may not have everything he wants or he desires, but he's better off in the United States than any place in the world. I thank you.
This has been a presentation of the Spoken Word Library, a unique concept in the fields of home entertainment and education. A wide range of pre-recorded programs is offered in such diverse categories as citizenship, health, creation, true life adventure stories, life lesson stories for children, and stories just for fun. A free listing will be sent upon request. Write to American Media, Post Office Box 1365, Thousand Oaks, California, 91360.